It is Sunday night, October 19th. Welcome to episode 127 of The Wise Guys here on the Wise Guys YouTube and Twitch channels. I am one of your hosts, Jim Cornetti. I'm going to waste no further ado and bring in my co-host, Mr. Mike Martinez. Mike rocking the colors, rocking the name. And even though he's off tonight, we had a big day out of the team wearing those colors today.
Yes, we did, and I realized I just didn't turn the light off above the stove for tonight. We'll have to do that at halftime. But yes, a big day in Cleveland today, very much so. I actually got to watch part of it because Bobby was doing his own thing. I have to say, when we talk about that, I will give you a question. Oh, excuse me, that we will discuss about that game. But James, we have to start tonight on a little bit of a sad note. Um, Earlier this week, we were flipping through social media and we saw that the Godfather, our friend, our brother Willie Epting Jr., lost his wife this past week. um, Willie is somebody we have tried to emulate on the show. We Yes, this is an opinion thing, just like the talking heads at the different places. This is an opinion business that Jim and I really just have our 2 hours a week we really look forward to. We do this fact based. We back it up, whether it's numbers I know off the top of my head. And I'm not talking about the big Rican numbers of the week because that's just fun, but the numbers I know off the top of my head, the extensive research that my co-host does, Willie helped shape that for us. I started working with this stuff with Willie about a year or so before, actually about 2 years before we just started the Wise Guys. He has been on with both of us many times, whether it's been a baseball episode. I think the first time we were on together was previewing Ohio State, Michigan, which he is a Michigan fan, which is still to me
We've had him on for a
mind-boggling.
number of NBA things. He also was the birth of the first ever Wise Guys off the rail when Mike's camera froze.
Yes, he was. He absolutely was. But to see that, um, Jim, it hit me pretty hard. Um, Knowing the reverence with which he spoke about his other half, and so the Wise Guys right now, honestly, it's we take our hats off to our brother. We send him our best wishes, our condolences, and our happy thoughts at this time. Hopefully, soon, Shake Back will ride again. But until then, Willie, we're with you in spirit, obviously. But this was not the way we wanted to start this show tonight. We had a lot of stuff coming up that we wanted to get into, but we could not ignore this. And we could not save it till the end either. This is not something. we needed to address this up front. And I just saw I just checked threads to see if anything else had come up, and he hasn't really posted other than I want to say he was leaving her services and he saw Rainbow leaving the services. So obviously, hopefully those good thoughts will reach him. And we can all get back to having fun and doing this for our enjoyment. And he does it for a living. So, it's a little bit different with him too, but we got to get Brother Willie on here again at some point. But James, I think he would tell us he wants us to be the wise guys and he wants us to do our show as he would enjoy laughing at us, which is, I think, is really what Willie ever did when he was with us.
But we love you, brother.
What do you say we get into
We
this?
love you, brother Willie.
We love you, brother Willie.
He's made it abundantly clear he doesn't want to be called the Godfather. He doesn't want to be Uncle Willie. He is brother Willie. As supportive as he's been for both of us when we had our individual shows and channels, the JC24 Sports Note. He's commented on. He's given me a lot of feedback when I was trying to get my blog and my channel off the ground. I will go back to it one day, and Willie is one of the big reasons for that. Mike is obviously the most influential reason, but Willie's a big part of that as well. And every time Willie comes on, it's a free for all, but it's the most serious free for all of any guest that we have because of how businesslike it is. John is a brother that we've known for many, many years. Alex, you've certainly known him longer with the ties that Alex has had, kind of the cousin like ties that he had with Shakeback. And I've only known Alex for the 4 years that we've been doing this. And we love having Alex on, but when Willie's on, it's a whole different scenario because a lot of the times Willie is crunched for time because of how much of a family man he is, and we definitely don't want to deprive him of that. He likes to stay, on point, but he also loves to go off the rails with us, as has been evident with some of the clips that I've cut over the last few years. But Willie, we cannot stop thinking about you here this week. Our as Mike said, our condolences, our thoughts are with you. Anything that you need, just reach out to us. We'll help out where we can. You want to come on and just vent. You absolutely can. The door is always open for that. But take whatever time you need with everything. Go silent, go dark. We understand that he does that for a living. And just the outpouring of support I've actually just seen with the comments on threads alone, just shows you really, how much Willie means to everyone and just how much people cared about Mrs. Epting.
Yes, absolutely. But now let's get to the business of our weekly show, which I know he not only watched and listened to, but also has contributed a ton. Just like you said, the off the rails. That Close Your Mouth, Mike, is still one of my favorite moments we've ever had on this show. Or him calling, what was it, Josh McDaniels and who was the Texas A&M coach that
Jimbo Fisher.
They're still paying, calling him the Hamburglar. That was still one of my favorites.
As kind of self-deprecating, I had a moment this week, and Mike, you know it full well. Speaking of the Hamburglar, I did something for the first time in 18 months this week. I voluntarily got McDonald's.
Well, let's set this up a minute. James has had a few weeks since employment thing went down that he has just been ready to kill at any moment. And then I get the text. It was a voice note. I get the voice note. I went to McDonald's for the first time in 18 months. This shit sucks. Like, oh my God. I can't
and
even
then
with this.
followed up
I
with
can't.
Chipotle 2 nights later, and then
Dude,
bought $69 worth of groceries at Target, 40 of which was food-based, and all that's left is the 4 cheese Red Baron pizzas in my freezer. Gummy bears, gone. The 6-pack of beef brats, gone. The gummy Skittles, gone. The can of baked beans, gone. Um,
you, you are making the fat guy in the room very, very happy. Oh, jeez. All right, let's get to it. We got a big hat trick this week, dude.
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
It's going to be a recurring theme in the hat trick for the foreseeable future. We're going to actually talk a lot of football. We'll talk some hockey. We're going to talk some basketball here. But we're going to lead off with the big boys today. NFL Week 7 happens today. The majority of the schedule. We actually saw the fallout of the Cleveland Browns trade with the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday to kick off the week as Joe Flacco goes off.
Did you hear what former Buckeye Cameron Hayward called it? The Icy Hot Bowl.
Those all white uniforms were trash.
They were trash, but he called it the Icy Hot Bowl long before anyone knew what uniforms the Bengals were wearing, only because it was Flacco and Rodgers. Now, here's my 2 takeaways from that game. Number 1, Pittsburgh could be a problem in the playoffs just because they looked amazing outside of their defensive secondary has as many holes in it as anything I've seen. However, the second thing I took from this was they ran the option with Joe Flacco and it got 13 yards. What the fuck is Pittsburgh's linebacking core doing, number 1? And number 2, is Kevin Stefanski that horrible of a coach?
We're going to get to all that because even though Mike and I put a lot of focus in on the Cleveland Browns, obviously who he's wearing tonight, obviously where I'm broadcasting out of, but that's actually, we're going to reserve that game for last, not so much because of the final score and what happened, but for all the storylines going into it and now all the storylines coming out of it. So let's run down our scoreboard here. So the Bengals stave off the Steelers 33-31 on Thursday night in Cincinnati at Paycor Stadium. As Mike discussed with Joe Flacco, 31 of 47, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Jamar Chase 16 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. The Bengals, after as bad of a season as they were having to start, are now suddenly 3-4, and the Steelers are 4-2.
Yeah, no, and I think the more impressive thing about that, by the way, and that made me shake and scratch my head, was he threw the ball to Jamar Chase 20 sometimes. More than half the actual passes he threw went towards Jamar Chase. And he had an abundance of catches. At some point in time, you know what's coming. And if you can't stop it, that's an indictment on you. And by the way, the Mike Tomlin anger at Joe Flacco being traded to Cincinnati as a Cleveland Browns supporter at times, that was so worth it to see. He was so pissed.
You know what's funny? It's I when you said that Pittsburgh could be a problem in the playoffs, that would actually imply that yeah, we figured they're going to get to the playoffs here. But that would actually imply that Pittsburgh has to win a playoff game, something they haven't done in 13 years.
Well, no, they haven't done it in 13 years, but remember, a lot of the reason they did not win it for in 13 years was twofold. It was one, Ben was getting to the point where Ben could not play like Ben anymore. And 2, as I moved this thing out of the screen, sorry about that. And 2, they had terrible quarterback play after that. I think that with a team like the Steelers and the weapons they have with Rodgers, they can get that playoff monkey off their back, depending on who they pull and where they have to go. I don't expect him to go into Buffalo and win a game in the snow, but if they get decent weather somewhere, I think he can win a game.
Remember what happened 2 years ago with the delayed game where they had to shovel out the stadium and then Pittsburgh gets run off the field in Buffalo.
Yes. And the week after that was, of course, the greatest introduction to future in-laws in the history of the world.
um, so we open up play on Sunday across the pond. The last game in London is the last 2 international games will be in Madrid the next 2 weeks. The LA Rams moved to 5-2 in what should have been on paper the best game of the day. It turned out to be, one of the 2 or 3 biggest blowouts of the day. Even though Trevor Lawrence 23 of 48, 296 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Williams 12 carries, 54 yards. Travis Hunter 8 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. But it's Matthew Stafford throwing for 3 touchdowns as the Rams roll to a 35-7 win. And the Jaguars only scored this game, ended up in the 4th quarter when the game was already out of hand.
Congratulations to Travis Hunter for getting his first NFL touchdown in this game. By the way, it was a great catch that he made. I kind of like the way they're using Hunter in packages on both offense and defense. I will say this, though. Is Stafford dipping his toe in the Fountain of Youth or something? Because he is playing out of his mind.
He's as log jammed as the NFC South. I'm sorry, the NFC West is quickly turning into. He's you may be onto something because if you look at that division, Arizona's 2-5. We're going to talk about them here in a little bit, but they've been in some games. Their point difference for Arizona being a 2-5 team, their point differential is only a -1. Seattle is 4-2.
Wow.
San Francisco's 4-2, and the Rams are 5-2 with this win, having won back-to-back. Coming in and just think of now their travel that they have to fly from England all the way back to LA. I think it's the longest commute of any of the teams that actually has to go overseas, going literally from, as far west Europe to far west North America as you could possibly get here. But yeah, Stafford has been playing extremely well. 1,684 yards and 17 touchdowns in the Rams' first 7 games.
Yeah, he's having a great year. Now, granted, 95% of those targets are to Puka Nacua, but, what are you going to do?
And right now, the Rams rank 3rd in offensive passing efficiency at yards a game. What the Rams are doing, though, is with defenses. They're only giving up 16.7 on the year, which is 3rd best in the league because they're only scoring they're scoring 25 a game, which is literally in the middle of the pack. They're sitting 16th with 3 games left to go this weekend.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Rams, I think, are one of those teams that surprise you every time they're in games like this because of the fact that their quarterback is, older than dirt and their defense is minus their first ballot Hall of Famer. So I gotta, hat tip to the Rams.
Speaking of tipping caps here and bringing up somebody we already brought up on the show earlier, brethren of show Alex Ruiz is going to be very happy about this. The Chicago Bears fight off the New Orleans Saints 26-14. Spencer Rattler for New Orleans, 20 of 32, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, 19 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown for the Bears. Ohio State alumni Chris Olave, 5 catches, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the Saints. They're only offensive scores of the game. The Bears are 4-2.
Shocking. And that's not taking a shot at Alex. I honestly believe that this team was going to destroy Caleb Williams, and it seems like the hire they made this year, they took Detroit's OC, right? Yeah, taking Detroit's OC has really made a huge difference. But again, they've got to win games late in the year. Let's see how they end up doing that.
Right. And as it stands right now, I mean, we talk about, in years past, who's got the best division in football, who's the most competitive. Right now in the NFC North, you got the Packers at 4-1-1, mathematical tiebreaker with that tie over the Lions and the Bears, who are both 4-2, and the Vikings are 3-3 after the Vikings lost today. So all four teams are above 500 in that division. Somebody's going to get left out here if they keep playing like this.
Yeah, right now I would think it'd be Minnesota because they're lacking on the defensive side of the ball pretty hardcore. So let's see how this shapes out. But listen, great start for the Bears.
Speaking of great starts, and one of the things that's actually up here on this screen, we had a battle of two, we hope to be future of the game level quarterbacks in Nashville today, as the New England Patriots come away with a 31-13 win in a game that they were trailing 10-3 after the first quarter. Cam Ward, 25 of 34, 255 yards and a touchdown, his best game passing so far in the NFL. And Ramon Stevenson for New England, 18 carries, 88 yards and a touchdown. The Titans fall to 1-6. The Patriots move to 5-2. And with Buffalo being off this week, the New England Patriots will end this week a half game in first place in the AFC East.
Our buddy, I say our buddy because we like watching him, but Benchwarmer Brand, he said it a few weeks ago. We have shared this video between each other. We have enjoyed it. Why is New England likable? Is it because of Vrabel? Is it because
I think it has
not douchey?
I think it has absolutely nothing to do with Vrabel because there's a lot of people who can't even remember that he's the coach there. But I think it's the fact that you don't have the arrogance of Belichick and Brady there anymore. And now they're starting to win. So they're likable.
Okay. I'll buy that. That's there. I said, listen, Drake May is better than I thought he would be. I got to say it. He is a lot better than I thought he would be. So hats off to New England on the rebuild. That's pretty quick. After Belichick left to get his clock cleaned on Saturdays.
Speaking of getting clocks clean, we head out to Arrowhead. The Chiefs, for starting 0-2, are now 4-3. And don't look now, but the Chiefs are red hot, and they walk away with a 31-0 pasting of the Las Vegas Raiders, dropping the Raiders to 2-5. Patrick Mahomes, 26 of 35, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries, 57 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, 3 catches, 54 yards. Again, the Chiefs are 4-3, and as it stands right now, they are 1 game back in the AFC West.
Did you see the clip of Mahomes trying to pull the Raiders offsides?
I did not.
Okay, this is awesome. They line up not bunch formation, full house backfield, 3 backs, Mahomes under center. And he's trying to pull them all sides, 4th and I think 3. He's trying to get them all sides, get the 5-yard penalty, whatever. He says, hut, 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 like old Tecmo Bowl. And he stands up and goes, this never fucking works. Gets back under center, snaps the ball. Running back goes for the first down. I thought Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were swallowing their microphones. They were trying not to laugh. Nantz had to apologize because, the NFL has those really powerful mics on the field where you can hear that, except for, if your name is Mason Rudolph. So,
well, it's not only those big ones on the sideline that pick up, but also remember the sky cams.
Sky cams and players are mic'd up every week.
Yeah,
I think Baker's mic'd up every week because he is an absolute gem. He said this fucking never fucking works, and then snap the ball and they get the first down. It's like, come on, dude, it's not that easy. It's hilarious, but it's not that easy.
We talked about them earlier. The Minnesota Vikings fall to 3-3. The Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champions, are now 5-2, 3-1 on the road with a clutch 28-22 win. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 23, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Devontae Smith, 9 catches, 183 yards, and a touchdown for Philadelphia. Again, the Eagles are now 5-2 and 2 games clear in that NFC East.
Something that needs to be talked about is Brian Flores, I think, figured out how to play against the tush push because they tried it. And not only did they get a false start call from the referees on that play, they also got a stop. So yes, Philadelphia won that game, but if people go to town on the film, you could see that tush push be just basically eliminated. Hey, on your ticker there, let's not talk about the game before Philly and Minnesota. It's not worth our time.
We're gonna have to, but we're gonna gloss over it very briefly because it's the next
Okay.
one up. But we can talk about it for other reasons. The Carolina Panthers are over 500 this late in the season for the first time since probably the Reagan administration, it feels like. The Panthers are now 4-3 with a 13-6 win over the hapless New York Jets, who are now 0-7. In the game, Xavier Legette, 9 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And Rico Dowdle, 17 carries, 79 yards for Carolina. But the story here was the quarterback play. Bryce Young, 15 of 25 for 138 yards and a touchdown, but left the game with an ankle injury. And then the Jets benched Justin Fields in this game. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't care if the Bears broke Justin Fields. Justin Fields is not a starter in this league.
No, not anymore. I am in agreement with you. Because we live in a world where two things can be true. Yes, the Bears broke Justin Fields. And no, he's no longer a starter. Which it pains me because he was that good coming into the league. What are you going to do?
Unfortunately, it just another chalk it up, put a notch in the headboard and everything of another Ohio State quarterback who cannot actually be a starter in this league.
No, and again, we've talked about this before. Some of the things are the way they play, and some of them are definitely the situations they are drafted into.
Speaking of situations they're drafted into, man, did we have a good one at Mile High today.
Yes, we did.
In a battle for the, I don't want to say for the ages, but for the game of the year of the week, of all things, Jackson Dart, 15 of 33, 283 yards, three touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins, 14 carries, 81 yards. But it's the Broncos who use basically a walk-off field goal to hold serve, 33-32. The Broncos scored according to what this is saying, the Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter.
They did. When I saw this game and they were down by multiple scores, I actually thought about it for a second. I was going to text you and be like, what's going on with the Giants? What are they doing? And then Bo Nix just went off.
27 of 50, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cam Scatterbo in the loss, 16 carries, 60 yards. Cortland Sutton, 6 catches, 87 yards. So it is the Giants who storm out to a 19-0 lead going into the fourth quarter. Denver gets on the board within the first minute. And then Bo Nix, here's how this quarter plays out. Nix throws a touchdown, 19-8. The Giants, Jackson Dart throws a touchdown, 26-8 Giants. Bo Nix, 7-yard rushing touchdown, 26-16 Giants. RJ Harvey, touchdown pass from Bo Nix, 26-23. Bo Nix, 18-yard run, 30-26 Giants. I'm sorry, 30-26 Broncos, and we've got a minute 51 left. Jackson Dart, 1-yard rush with 37 seconds remaining, 32-30 Giants. And then Will Lutz, a 39-yard field goal to walk off, 33-32 Denver. This one is going to be played on NFL Network for highlights. And if you get the channel, DVR that sucker.
Yeah, absolutely. This was one of the better ones that I've seen in a long time. Luckily for me, with the help of family friends, I do have the ability to watch some of these games. And I did catch a few minutes of it, and it just felt like the defense had just basically sat on the sidelines in the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, I didn't do what you want.
We head out to LA. The Colts moved to 6-1, and right now mathematically have the best record in football. The Colts come away with a 38-24 win against the Los Angeles Superchargers. Justin Herbert, 37 of 55, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 16 catches, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Oronde Gadsden, 7 catches, 164 yards. The Chargers fall to 4-3 after starting out 3-0, and the Colts are 6-1 and steamrolling right now.
Yeah, this is unreal. I will say this. Again, another indictment of the New York Giants.
We'll skip one of the more obvious ones. We'll kind of end a lot of the 4 o'clock games here. The Green Bay Packers get a key fourth quarter advancement here. Outscore the Arizona Cardinals 14-3 in the fourth quarter. Come away with a 27-23 win. Jacoby Brissett, 25 of 36, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the Packers 4-1-1, again leading that division by a half game. The Cardinals 2-5, but again, remember what I said. The Cardinals are a 2-5 team whose overall point differential is only a -1.
Yeah, they've been playing decent football. It's just they don't seem to get that break or make that one play they need to make in order to get the W. But listen, they have not been playing bad. You can't really argue against the things they've done. Brissett's playing for Arizona?
Correct.
What happened to...
I believe he's nursing some sort of leg injury. I believe it's a hamstring.
I thought it was going to be that he was cut off at the knees.
Speaking of righting the ship, no Micah Parsons. Obviously, it doesn't matter in Big D because they have definitely righted their ship. The Cowboys go out and put a 44-22 beatdown on the Washington Commanders today. Dak Prescott, 21 of 30, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. This was never really a game. This was a 27-15 game at the half. And then the Cowboys have now moved to 3-1. They dropped the Commanders to 3-4. The Commanders need Jaden Daniels to get healthy, and they need him to get healthy and consistently healthy in a big way because they're quickly falling off the pace, certainly of the Eagles. But now they've fallen into third in that division, and the Giants are only, I think, a game behind them.
Yeah, and let's talk about Jaden Daniels for a minute and not having anybody to throw the ball to. You thought Baker was missing some receivers? Forget it. Jaden Daniels is missing everybody and Neymama today. So it doesn't shock me that it was that big of a blowout. Washington's defense, I think, has some holes in it that can be exploited by a team like Dallas who can throw the ball pretty well. They were exposed today, and that's why they gave up 44.
Speaking of shocked by a blowout, we'll finish out this segment by the most obvious one here that we have deliberately saved for last. And that would be what was colloquially known on local radio as the prison inmate game of the week. It was such an ugly game on paper that inmates would rather go back to their cells than have to watch this game.
Was it Carmen or Uncle Riz that said it?
It was actually coined when the channel first came on the air by Chuck Booms and Kevin Kiley.
No, I'm talking about this week.
No, that was me because you've got 2 1-5 teams. Somebody was going to go to 1-6, and the loser's probably going to end up losing their coach after this. But the Cleveland Browns get 3 Tua Tagovailoa interceptions, 1 taken back the distance, another one that was stopped at the 2-yard line as well, and come away with a 31-6 win. In the win, Dylan Gabriel, not great numbers, but certainly efficient, 13 of 18, 116 yards. Quinshon Judkins, 25 carries, 84 yards, and 3 touchdowns. However, of those 84 yards, he ended up with 64 of them on just 2 runs, including a 41-yard touchdown. Judkins gets the hat trick today, 3 touchdowns. And then D. Eskridge for Miami, only 2 catches, 45 yards. It was in the pouring rain with upwards of 40-mile-an-hour winds, but the wind didn't really seem to have much of an effect here. And I had the TV volume off and the radio volume on, but you could definitely tell that once the fourth quarter came around and the Browns already had the game in the bag, up 24-6, um, there were a lot of camera cuts to Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I think Mike McDaniel's going to get fired, and a lot of it's not his fault. I will say that they have dealt with some injuries on both sides of the ball this year. They have dealt with really just some unlucky stuff too. They had a second game where they were going to win a couple weeks ago. And of course, that's the week Tyreek got hurt, week 4. What would have been their second win. So, having said that, let me say this. Is anybody going to start throwing blame at the quarterback yet? Because again,
for the numbers that he put up, yeah. Tua Tagovailoa, 12 of 23, 100 yards on the head, and 3 interceptions. And according to the box score, a quarterback rating of 3.4.
So I said this in 2018 when he finished second in the Heisman. I said this when people were tanking for Tua, and I've said this multiple times since he came into the NFL. When Tua has to play a team with a good defense, he is trash. When Tua has to play in anything but southern weather, he is trash. Oh my God. It's almost like I know what the fuck I'm talking about sometimes. Not often, but sometimes.
It was so bad that Tua actually got pulled early in the fourth quarter for third-round pick Quinn Ewers. So
7th. Ewers went in the
7th round pick. So obviously it was so bad in the Ewers, you had to turn to Ewers, who was 5 of 8 for 53 yards and had a quarterback rating of 21.6, which is 7 times better than your $40 million starter at this point, which is also hilarious because Ewers' first pass was tipped and nearly intercepted.
Yeah, and they missed a face mask on that play, by the way. An egregious face mask by the Browns defensive back.
However, Jalen Waddle left this game with an injury on that play after getting stuck on the sideline. I think the most impressive thing about the whole game was twofold. If you had to take it from either way, Miami's run defense for being dead last. Outside of those 2 big runs for Judkins, there was nothing. There were 22 carries for 18 yards. I mean, that's less than 0.4 yards per carry.
Yeah, no, Miami's defense is not the problem. I will say this. Their run defense, which hasn't been great today, really did step up. I watched the majority of the second half of that game. And not because I am going back to being the level of Browns fan I was previously, but more because, well, 1, Quinshawn's there, so I wanted to see what he did. But 2, I wanted to see if the lefty, Tua, not Gabriel, had figured out how to play in something besides 85 degrees. And oh my God, he hasn't. As far as Gabriel goes, I think Dylan Gabriel's numbers are more a representation of the game plan that the Browns are sticking him with than what he can actually do. However, I don't think his ceiling is high. Not with this team as currently constructed, number 1, because their wide receiver room is a fucking joke. And number 2, the coaching staff as currently constructed. As much as you want to say Gabriel is a prototypical Stefanski quarterback, he's not. The skill set Shedeur showed at Colorado and that first preseason start, I think, is more consistent with what Stefanski is looking for. But he's not going to see the field. So now it's, what's next?
I mean, congratulations to Dylan Gabriel, who gets his first NFL win. In 3 games, and if you really even want to count, that mop up that he had in the blowout in Baltimore, still has not turned the ball over. Makes
That's
good
big, by the
decisions
way.
and did actually throw downfield a couple of times. Certainly enough, did not complete those passes, but I do actually like the fact that he's able to start throwing the ball down the field and stretch it a little bit more. You are correct that the Browns receiving room right now is hot garbage. They did not have David Njoku for today's game. In the conditions that it was in, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of accuracy throwing the ball. So the Browns had Blake Whitehart and Harold Fannin at tight ends. You've got Cedric Tillman, third-year player, often hurt. Isaiah Bond, who was not drafted because of off the field issues. Jerry Judy, who couldn't catch a cold up until the last couple of weeks. Um, there's so many whole. I mean, but if you think about with the Browns, yeah, they were playing against a team who's going to end up firing their coach, and McDaniel's already has already said that he's more focused on the Dolphins moving forward at 1-6 than his job. He's not going to make the bye week at that point.
No.
If he doesn't get fired in the middle of the week, he will be fired at the bye week for them. But it's definitely something where um it's certainly a fall from grace if you're Miami, but if you look at the Browns, there's a lot of optimism here because you see a lot of uh, good in the mechanics and the way that they do kind of try to rally for Gabriel a little bit. I'm not even sure making the switch to Sanders is going to improve all that much and everything because of how
No.
depleted. Because if you sit back and you think about it, two rookie running backs, uh, two basically rookie receivers, two rookie quarterbacks, and then an offensive line that has Batonio is probably going to retire at the end of the year. Jack Conklin at 31 has not been healthy for an entire 16 games since they traded for him 4 years ago. He's basically out, and then you've got Swiss cheese everywhere. So if you're the Browns, you have to spend one of those two first round picks next April on an offensive lineman, and you gotta shore this thing up because think of how much better they could actually be if Gabriel had if number one, he was able to get outside and kind of move the pocket a la Baker. But once he starts realizing of trying to find his targets and check his reads down, because his thing is that when he's rolling out to the right, which teams often do, you got to remember he's a left-handed quarterback, so he's throwing across his body.
Mm.
So so once he starts getting that mechanic in the game speed, out there, I think things are going to take care of themselves. I think they've got something building here. But the other aspect of this game, we talked about the Mike McDaniel thing. It was also reported earlier this week that the Cleveland Browns officially moving to Brook Park. It is signed, sealed, done because the Haslam Sports and Entertainment Group settled with the city of Cleveland for $100 million for their relocation, where they will actually aid in rebuilding the lakefront and also cover the cost of demolishing Cleveland Browns Stadium in the next few years. So that's a very big ordeal right there, because it will be the first time in the history of Cleveland football that there will not be a stadium directly on that lakefront. But it's the whole fiasco is finally done, and also it's great because by getting it off the lakefront, you don't have to go back and renovate it every 5 to 10 years because of the effects of the elements coming directly onto that building.
No, and we knew this was going to happen. We knew the city would get a big chunk of money and rebuild and what have you. Um, Having said that, how Jimmy Haslam is going to have owned this team. When did he buy it? Was it 2010?
Yeah, I want to say 09, 10, somewhere in there.
So Jimmy Haslam will have owned this team for 15 years. He has played 3 playoff games. And there
And
is
they have never
taxpayer money.
hosted one at that stadium.
Never host one in that stadium in 26 seasons. Well, 28 by the time they go, if I'm not mistaken. Got a couple more years.
Yes. The new
And
stadium
not
should
only
be
have they
open in time for 2028 or 2029, I'm hearing.
okay, so never hosted a playoff game in that stadium. Played literally 4 playoff games in the 26 years since the Browns have been here in this iteration, and I don't see them making the playoffs until after they get into the new stadium. How does he come out of this smelling like a rose? Because he's handing the city $100 million.
We
Right,
brought this
serious
up.
right now.
What was your favorite memory of the stadium now that you know that it's basically going to be gone?
I want to look up the exact date so I can give it to you. It was week 3 of the 2018 season. It was September 20th, 2018. I was
I know,
in
I know you were
Cleveland.
going here.
And then here's why. And it's not just because I'm wearing 6 right now. We all know I ride with Baker throughout. Jim, I was at my sister's house on Fay Drive in South Euclid for that night because that was the Thursday night game. On Friday, Mr. Creedys and I went to Columbus to see the late Dwayne Haskins play against Tulane. It wasn't the fact that the energy in the stadium changed when Baker trotted on the field after Tyrod got hurt. The entire region, the electricity in the air when Baker got on the field that night. They caught the possum before the raccoon, or possum or raccoon. They caught one undesirable animal
Awesome.
before the game. Possum. They opened the Bud Light fridges that night.
For a team that hadn't won in nearly 2 full calendar years, was sold out, national television, and their eventual savior for the next 5 years making his league debut.
723 days. I remember that number because we did a Big Rican episode from Columbus, and that was what we opened with that. That is the moment I will remember. That is number 1. 1A is the only thing missing is all of you.
For me, I would probably have to go 2 things. Number 1, run William run
Yes.
to get them into the 03 playoffs, and then number 2 was last year, for a downtrodden team that had nothing to play for, showing up, selling out, and balling out 3 days after Jim Donovan had passed away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I think if I had to do my top 5 moments, number 5 is the first game back. Because remember, for anybody who watches the show and doesn't realize this, I moved to Cleveland the season before they left. I was there in October of 93. They left after the 94 season. It was after the 94 season, right?
Yes.
Okay. But I was also there when they came back. And I remember I was dating a girl who was a couple years younger than us, class of 99. I went to her graduation, and a dude walked across the stage with a Browns 99 jersey on. He unzipped his brown graduation gown. But that first night back, Ty Detmer started at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in their first game back. Chris Spielman, I think, was the only game he played when he came back to the Browns that night in 1999. That's number 5. Number 4 is Chubba Wubba Hub because it's Nick Chubb. Number 3 is Run William Run to get them into that playoffs. And I was already back in New York at that point in time. That game was on. I was watching that game in New York when that
Was
happened.
a 4:00 game. It was the marquee game because both teams had playoff implications.
Exactly. And Vic was still on the Falcons. And Vic always got prime time because of how good he was. But then 1 and 2 are 2 is the only thing missing is all of you. I was able to watch that game too. No, I didn't. I listened to that game, and I heard him say that, and it choked me up. We've talked about it before. That choked me up. I don't. Baseball does that to me more than football does. That one got me. And then, of course, when Baker came on the field that night, it was just a different animal. It was just a different animal, dude.
I mean, I've been in that stadium 5, 6 times for games, within the last during the Baker era. I certainly have not been back there since, Deshaun Watson took over. But at least finally it puts the whole thing to rest because now they can actually properly build the new stadium. Because remember, where they are now was built in haste
Yeah.
on short notice when they left, and then they had already gotten the application fee in and everything to bring the team back. So that stadium was built a lot faster than it had any reason to be. Whereas now you can build a stadium in 3 years. Look at basically the fact that 90% of the new Highmark Stadium is done in Buffalo, and it will be open in time for the start of next season. Bigger and better than the current stadium is. They're going to be able to do this thing right out in Brook Park. Naturally, with it being indoors, they're going to be able to get a lot of the indoor stuff done once the exterior is done, so they could work on it year round, as opposed to where they were downtown. There's a lot of that time where you can't work during the cold weather months.
No, you can't. And they tried to. I remember reading about that, and they tried to. But you can't, not down on the fucking lake. I mean, we were kids and they were building that thing. 30 some years ago. Jesus Christ, world. I remember the bitter cold winters and being like, how are these bros working?
Because let's be honest here as we wrap up this segment, as we've gone nearly an hour on just the NFL. And we certainly are not going to take nearly that long on the next two segments here. But it's a different model right now. It's like you've got cold weather teams that, are starting to put up domes. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, you've got Green Bay and Buffalo are going to be about some of the last teams that are going to play in abysmal weather like that. Pittsburgh typically doesn't get that because they're on the river. Cincinnati doesn't get that because they're on the river and they're further inland. Cleveland and Green Bay / Milwaukee there's 3 places on the planet that get lake effect snow, and those are 2 of them. So by moving Cleveland indoors, people are getting to the point where they'd rather go to football for comfort than actually go there and sit in the elements and be miserable. So it opens it up to a whole new broad, spectrum of fans, even if the tickets are going to be outrageous because of the fact that you're in a dome and you got to pay for the thing in the first 5 years. But it's going to make a whole lot of sense. And I completely agree with what Tony Rizzo said when this finally came down earlier in the week. The first event that should be there is a Taylor Swift concert.
Yes.
Because Travis is going to be retired by then. Bring him home. Bring his at that time, it's going to be his wife home, and let him open up the building and basically make $50 million that night.
It should be a New Heights episode leading into the Taylor Swift concert. You really want to bring money there?
I completely agree. But speaking of leading in, as we've done 50 minutes on the NFL.
Well done, James. Well done.
We are not going to talk that much about this, but we are going to cover a couple of things here. College football week 8, we've got football. We've got playoff rankings coming out very, very shortly here. But not too many surprises, but the surprises that there were very, very impressive.
Well, let's put it this way. The only team that did not change their rank from week to week was number 1. And the only thing they did was gain more votes. It's not about homerism, Jim. It's an actual thing that's been said in multiple different media outlets. The only team that did not change this week was the number 1 team in the country. Indiana goes up from 3 to 2. A&M goes up from 4 to 3. Bama is up 2 to number 4.
After
Georgia
Alabama got whitewashed in week 1, they have rattled off 5 straight wins, and they are back to number 4.
Yep. Georgia, of course, comes back from a multi-score down against Ole Miss to win there. Vandy had the biggest win of the week. What a win by Vanderbilt beating LSU that way. And it again brings into the conversation, is Brian Kelly a good fit for LSU? The biggest jump, though, Jim, and let's talk about Friday night. Miami go at home, loses to Louisville, and it wasn't as close as the score said. Louisville dominated that game. Carson Beck throws 4 interceptions. You think he only did that to Florida? If you're from Georgia, you think he only did that against Florida? No, he did against Louisville too. So let's talk about what this has done. For the first time in a long time, I think it's finally becoming known. The SEC is not the powerhouse in college football anymore. It's not. It's the Big Ten. When you have Big Ten teams at 1, 2, Oregon, I think, was 4 or 5, 6. So 1, 2, 6. Illinois is in the top 25 when they were not ranked.
And Michigan, yeah.
Team up north is back at 25. You had what the hell? Bama 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6. 3 of the top 6 are in the Big Ten. 3 of the top 6 are in the SEC. They're neck and neck. I mean, the tumble by Miami should have been more than just a number 9. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know, because Louisville was 4-1 going into that game and jumps up to 19. So it's a quality loss for them.
Okay.
I get it's a bad loss and it's at home, but it's a quality loss because the Louisville could have made an argument to already be a ranked team going into that game.
Okay. So let me use your logic on that. Why wasn't Washington ranked going into the game against Ohio State? Louisville's schedule is very much the same as Washington's was going into that game. The difference is Louisville went down to Miami, beat their ass. Washington took one on the chin that week by the Buckeyes. And again, this week by Michigan. Great. That was a phenomenal defensive game plan by Michigan this week. And I hate giving them any kind of props at all. But that was a very, very good defensive game plan by that team.
I think it's because Louisville went into Miami and pasted them, regardless of what the final score says. And Ohio State held serve on, in the horseshoe. They did not go, to.
They were in Washington. That game was in Seattle.
It's not my anti-Buckeye stance and everything. I just think between the two, I think Louisville had a better setup here. With this, Louisville was knocking on there, and Washington had to kind of come up to that level. And then now we actually see that, Louisville waxes number 2, who a lot of people were thinking was the best team in the country. Miami makes a game a bit late. And then Washington goes out and gets absolutely run off the field by Michigan in the second half.
Oh, they did. And coming across to the big house is like going across to play out west. Penn State ran into that a few weeks ago. Washington ran into it this week. A lot of people thought Oregon would too, but they were going to Rutgers. As much as, they've gotten better over the years. That's still going to Rutgers. Big games coming up too this week. What was there? I saw a couple of pretty big ones. I know the Bucks are off this week, so one is idle. Indiana will play.
I've actually got the schedule here. Indiana will host UCLA. Syracuse will head to number 7 Georgia Tech. The game of the week will be number 8 Ole Miss at number 13 Oklahoma Saturday at noon. Number 16 Virginia will travel to North Carolina. Number 18 South Florida will travel to Memphis. What else do we got here? Those were the early games. The second biggest game of the week will be number 15 Mizzou traveling to number 10 Vanderbilt in a game that will basically kind of break the spirit of one of them in the SEC race. Number 4 Alabama will travel to South Carolina. Number 23 Illinois will travel to Washington. Number 11 and still undefeated BYU will match up at Iowa State. Oklahoma State will travel to number 14 Texas Tech. Baylor will travel to number 21 Cincinnati. Number 22 Texas will be on the road at Mississippi State. Wisconsin will travel to Oregon. Stanford will travel to number 9 Miami. Texas A&M and LSU is the primetime game. That's 3 versus 20, so 3 top 25 matchups within the SEC alone. Fresh off that big win, Louisville will host Boston College. Michigan will be at Michigan State, which we all don't think is going to be much of a game. Number 17 Kentucky will be number 17 Tennessee will be at Kentucky. And then to close out the majority of the schedule, or at least the ranked schedule, Houston will be at number 24 Arizona State in the late game on Saturday night.
Yeah, and Arizona State also lost too, didn't they?
Correct.
Yeah. This is shakeup time. For whatever reason, the mid to late October into November is shakeup time in the polls because teams lose games they're not supposed to. Notre Dame had a big win against USC, obviously. Memphis sucks that they lost. They were playing well. Utah, of course, loses to BYU. Hey, here's one for you, which I was shocked about. BYU is 7-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time in program history.
I want to say that there are only 7 programs undefeated left in Division I, and they are one of them.
Yeah. Them, the Bucks, Georgia Tech, Indiana. There's a couple other ones. South Florida lost. Louisville's
Texas
lost.
A&M.
To A&M.
You'll never get the last one.
That's 7-0.
Yeah. They're technically 6-0 because they were on a bye this week.
Power 4, group of 5.
Group of 5.
Fuck. I don't know.
That will be the midshipmen of Navy.
Good for them. Hey, did you happen to see the cool thing that happened in that UAB Memphis game?
I did not. I did not watch any college football at all this weekend.
The interim coach at UAB after the firing of Trent Dilfer is Chris Mortensen's son.
I did see something about this. Yeah.
He got his first win, and it was against a ranked Memphis team. So hats off to Mort's kid. Trust me, we miss your dad because nobody really likes Shefty. So, yeah, big things coming this week. By the way, I think Illinois is going to be given more of a game than people think at Washington. And I think Indiana is going to be given more of a game with what they got going on this week, too. I don't think they're going to lose, but I think they're going to be given a pretty decent game.
And to wrap this segment up, Jim finally gets his wishes. Billy Napier, in 4 years at Florida, is fired even after a 23-21 win against Mississippi State. The Gators improved to 3-4, 2-2 in the conference. Napier finishes with a 22-23 record in 4 years. The problem with this is that, Michael, can you guess who is the first name that they are linking to taking over the job for next year?
Urban?
James Franklin.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Look what he did post Bill O'Brien at Penn State. He did a phenomenal job. That weather and that locale will get him players that he can, and he's going to learn. He's going to learn that you have to recruit wide receivers. He's going to learn that you have to recruit a quarterback who has a brain in his skull. It's not the worst idea, James. It's not the worst idea.
According to the ESPN report by Eli Lederman, Max Olson, and Adam Rittenberg, that was actually published around 2 p.m. today, as the news came out yesterday, but this was just after the top 25 AP rankings were announced. The 5 candidates are Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin. I don't see him jumping, especially with what the Rebels are doing. Mizzou coach Eli Drinkowitz. He loves being in Como way too much to leave that job right now. SMU coach Rhett Lashley, that could be interesting. Washington coach Jed Fish, I don't know about that. And Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. I don't think
Freeman's not leaving.
If Notre Dame continues to improve the
No.
way that they are and they get themselves back into playoff contention, Marcus Freeman's not going anywhere. Rhett Lashley, I think for me, it's got to come down to Rhett Lashley or James Franklin at this particular point. Eli Drinkowitz is not leaving Como. Lane Kiffin is not going to leave Mississippi.
No, and by the way, if he's allowed to, Marcus Freeman will stay at Notre Dame until he decides to retire. Because what people don't realize is Marcus Freeman wanted to go to Notre Dame. He chose to go to Ohio State because of Tressel and what they were doing there then. He has said repeatedly he should have gone to Notre Dame. This is his dream job. You don't leave your dream job, especially when you're as good as he is. I mean, think about what he's done in those years. He takes over late because of when Kelly left, and he has to open up in the stadium he played in as a player in Columbus. His second year, he takes him right down to the wire, if not for that great drive, and then, of course, the 10 men on the field thing the second year, and he gets to a New Year's Six game in his first 2 seasons. And in his third season, he's literally one drive from tying the national championship game. He's never leaving Notre Dame. Never. You could back up a Brinks truck. No, it's
As
not happening.
much as we hate to say it because of kind of where they've been, in recent years, college football is just so much better when Notre Dame is back in this good. And that's all on Marcus Freeman right now.
It is. It is. And what it is when he took over from Kelly, he basically reinstilled in the players, listen, this is Notre Dame. We got the ghost. You tap the sign, you play like a champion. And he's brought in players who've bought in, which is what you need to do in this whole thing in order to have a winning program. I honestly believe Marcus Freeman is one good quarterback away from winning a national title. So, yeah, he's not leaving. I think Franklin's the best hire.
Before we leave this segment, what's most impressive about those undefeated teams that we just talked about? With Navy, you got to remember, because of the fact that they're a service academy, they can't use the transfer portal.
No, you can't. They can only leave.
And they are 6-0, and you actually have to give written authorization, because at that point, then you're giving up your naval service.
Yes. If you give up your appointment to Annapolis, you're walking out from your naval service. But I don't think anybody, again, that's kids go to Navy because they want to be in the Navy. They want to serve. Kids go to Army for the same reason. They go to Air Force for the same reason. When you see kids from the towns the schools are in, i.e. Jack Sawyer and Columbus, you see a kid from Indiana play at either Indiana or Purdue or Notre Dame. It's because it's where they're from. You see a kid from Central New York play at Syracuse. It's because of where they're from. You don't see them transfer out ever. Those kids go there and they want to play. But yeah, it's bye, Billy. Now, if DJ Lagway just take his ass out the door with him.
So we go from Florida firing their coach in one of their major sports to a little college hoops, where Florida is coming off their first national championship in over 20 years. And college basketball starts this week. And as you can see, we're running the top 25. And for the first time that I can actually remember in a while, all the top 25 teams that we're running here were in the tournament last year.
And got at least out of the first round, most of them, too. You're talking, I thought it was cool St. John's is number 5.
You got to go all the way down to number 11, Louisville here, who didn't get out of the first round of the tournament.
That's because it's the Patino curse.
Right. But you've got of your final 4 teams from last year, Florida, the defending champions, are ranked number 3. National runner-up Houston in that classic are number 2 and got 16 first place votes. Duke is coming in at number 6, and then Auburn, after some of their uh, non-player type reasons that we're going to talk about here in a second, you got to go all the way down to number 20, but it's also because of the coaching change that's actually happened there. And then you might actually start seeing some of those players maybe transfer at the end of the year as well for obvious reasons. But, you know, you can't argue um, that Houston was not either going to be number 1 or number 2 with this. And yet Purdue starting the season at number 1, I want to say for like the second time in the last 4 years, Matt Painter just knows how to recruit. It's just trying to get them, and the fact that he's got them at number 1 coming off a Sweet 16 in the post Zach Edey realm and 35 first place votes is just showing me he might be the best coach in America not named Dan Hurley, and it's only because Dan Hurley's got the 2 back-to-back national championships, and oh yeah, don't look now, Dan Hurley's got his team in the top 5 again.
Yeah, I honestly think if Hurley wins a 3rd title this year, he's gonna head to the NBA. Moreover, I am very shocked. How much did Florida lose to the draft?
I want to say 2 players.
Which on a basketball team is massive. I'm just surprised that you have teams like Duke, who is now at number 6, who got the Elite Eight for them, right?
No, Duke was in the Final Four. Houston beat Duke.
That's right.
And then Florida beat
Beat Houston.
beat Auburn.
I am more shocked of anything that you have is the Auburn open up so far because of Bruce Pearl, you think?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I know Auburn did lose a couple of players to the draft, but I think you can't really because I think also why Florida opens up so big is they ended up in the transfer portal, they ended up taking away Arkansas' starting point guard.
Okay. Also, I got to tell you, as a former New Yorker, St. John's at number 5 is definitely warms the heart a little bit. And look at 22, Jim. Tom Izzo again with a top 25 team at Michigan State. Hey, who's the coach at UCLA now?
I don't think it's Mick Cronin. I can't remember if Cronin's. No, it is still Mick Cronin. And then you've got Mark Few coming back again at Gonzaga, who's coming in at number 21.
You know, I loved when Gonzaga was the little mid-major that could, and now they've turned into a yearly. Why haven't you won a title yet?
And remember, with the realignment, Gonzaga is going to the Pac-12 when they realign for next year in basketball.
That's right.
Even though it's going to be basically the Pac-12 is not going to be anything more than the Mountain West, but let's also keep in mind the Mountain West is a very good basketball conference.
It's a great basketball conference. I would love to see my team be a preseason top 25 sometime.
And this is why I think the college basketball game is so much better than the college football game, because number one here, all of these teams that we see, unless they completely collapse, are going to be one of the 68, to get in and have a shot for it. One of these teams has a bad 4-minute stretch in that tournament, they're going home. Whereas it's just, you start to see teams filter their way out. And now that you've got everybody on, a neutral site and everything, you're starting to see really where the transfer portal and the talent pool waters the product down in college football, to where it's only the 5, realistically, you've only got 5 or 6 teams, that have a shot with that. Florida gets hot, and I'm not saying this just because, Florida's my team in college basketball. Florida gets hot. They beat the hell out of Tennessee. They lose to Kentucky. They beat Auburn, handily. They're number 1. They go out and they lose their first game after getting the number 1 ranking, and then sneak in by winning the SEC tournament, late in that game, grab the final number 1 spot, and then take a ride where they should have gotten beat by UConn in the second round. They should have got beat in the Elite Eight. They should have got beat in the national semifinal, and Houston had them on the ropes up until that fantastic second half, and then rides a hot hand and wins a national championship under Todd Golden. So this is where the transfer portal, I don't think is as much of a huge issue in college basketball, just because you've got 68 teams going in, but you've got a pool of 350 plus teams that are all vying for these 68 spots.
Yeah, no, the tournament is definitely the better season. I agree with you 100%.
And also, sorry to cut you off. It's also because of the fact that with the length of the season, that you're guaranteed to play at least one game against everybody in your conference at least once. You don't get that in college football with the structure.
No, but I think you get home and home with everybody in your conference.
Unless it's like you're in the SEC, because I think Florida and Tennessee, I think only played once last year because of the fact that there's 18 teams in that conference now.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten's the same thing. There's certain ones you get twice a year. They could get your natural rivalries twice a year. As a matter of fact, you're right, because I think they played the Bucks played USC once, and they played UCLA once. I think they did a road trip where they hit the West Coast teams.
And now those teams are coming into Columbus this year.
Yeah. I will say this. I am looking forward to, honestly, I'm looking forward to see, number one, I see Michigan's got a high as sitting at number 7 after a Sweet 16 last year. I want to see how that program builds after the who the hell was their coach?
Juwan Howard?
Yes, after that fiasco where he got tossed. I want to see how they continue to build after Juwan Howard. I'm interested in how Kansas bounces back from being ousted in the first round of last year's tournament. I always did like Creighton to be one of those outlier teams, and the fact that they're sitting at 23, again, looks good. And the other thing too is UNC just going to fall off the map in both basketball and football? The Bill Belichick experience, again, first year, really can't read too much into it, but has been bad. And UNC did not have the greatest year last year. I mean, it's getting to be mathematical. Is UNC just going to fall off the map?
I mean, remember that they were one of the first. They were in that first 4 the Tuesdays and Wednesday before the actual tournament begins. They were like, I want to say that they were the last team in with the way that it all spelled out, and then they went out in the first round, and their season was over. So, but look at the pedigree of the coaching just at that top 7. Matt Painter at number 1, Kelvin Sampson at number 2. He's basically only got a couple of years left. Todd Golden's got a national championship. Dan Hurley's got 2 of them. Rick Pitino has a national championship, even though it was stripped away, with Louisville, but he's got another one from Kentucky. You've got John Shire, who looks like he's got him that close to getting another one. And then Dusty May has that great run with Florida Atlantic to get them into the Final Four in 2024, jumps to Michigan and has them in the Sweet 16 last year. In arguably, the Big Ten was the best basketball conference in the country last year. Well, yeah. I take that back. Second, because the SEC was just, it was Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee, and it was basically everybody else at that point.
No, it was. The SEC has definitely been a better basketball conference the last couple of years over the Big Ten. There's a couple. I'm interested to see how much gas the Izzo's got left in the tank. This is what got to be. Let me see. He won his first national title 25 years ago. No, more than that. When was Mateen Cleaves and those boys? That was 98.
And keep in mind, Izzo is 70. He will turn 71 at the end of January. He's been at Michigan State since 1995. He has got a 59-26 record in the tournament. He's got a career winning percentage of 709. He has 737 and 302 in his career. He was an assistant in Michigan State for 12 years before taking over as the head coach. He's got 8 Final Fours and was the 2000 national champion, and also a 2-time coach of the year, 4-time Big Ten coach of the year, and it was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 2016.
Yeah, his first national title was 2000. That was the Mateen Cleaves Michigan State team, which was the first Michigan State national championship since.
That's actually his only national championship.
I thought he won 2.
He's been to the Final Four in 99, 2000, 01, 05, 09, 10, 15, and 19, but 2000 was the only title.
Which was their first since when?
79.
Very good. So yeah, let's talk about Coach Pearl real quick before we go to halftime. Now, is he coaching this year or is he just done?
He officially stepped away.
Is it health?
I'm not exactly sure. There's conflicting reports that he got forced out.
And they let him retire as opposed to firing him.
Basically, yeah, it's because he's 65 years old. I mean, now keep in mind that, we remember when he was at UW Milwaukee, when we were watching him as Cleveland State fans, when you were still in Cleveland from 01 to 05. Then he jumps to Tennessee, is there for 16 years, and then goes to Auburn in 2014 and runs basically through there. So according to the Wikipedia page, on September 22nd of this year, he announced he was stepping down as head coach to move into an ambassador position. It ended his 11-season coaching tenure, most wins by a coach in program history, 3 SEC regular championships, 2 SEC tournament championships, 2 Final Four appearances. His son Steven is now taking over. But again, there's been a lot of rumblings going around here in really the last 3 or 4 weeks since this came out, that they were, I don't know if it was a money play or whatnot, but trying to be able to force him out to maybe get some new blood in there. I think it also had something to do with how dominant they were last year, and they were running roughshod through the tournament. And then it's just like I talked about at the start of this segment. You have one bad 4 or 5 minute stretch and it kills your season. Auburn had that one bad stretch in the second half, and they're sitting home and they're watching Florida win a national championship 2 nights later.
Yeah, it was rough. As far as new blood, I don't think you get new blood if his kid's the one taking over.
Yeah. I mean,
there's more to it than
still have a thumbprint on the program. It's just going to be weird to actually see the fact that they're not going to advance that far, and we're not going to actually have to hear, Charles Barkley on the because they're still going to be affiliated with Turner for college basketball because they own the rights to it. It's just not going to be the NBA. So that's going to be a very weird dichotomy that, inside the NBA is now moving to ESPN. Sweet. Mammoth win. Because they were losing to Boston earlier. And then so they're going to be under contract with ESPN for the NBA, but then they're also going to be working with the Turner and Paramount networks for the NCAA tournament, because it's Clark, Kellogg, Kenny, and Charles on the primary feed, and then you've got like Steve Lappin and Hubert Davis and whoever, Wally Zerbiak. You've got a lot of, and then also guys who are going out of the tournament early will actually start joining the panel as the tournament advances.
Yeah, I mean that's always fun. Hey, real quick before we go to halftime, I don't even want to talk about Calipari, dude, because he's such a pain in the balls. Did you see Franklin was on game day this week?
Like I told you, I didn't watch a single minute of college football at all. I didn't pay any attention to it until the scores came in after the Hallmark movie on Saturday night.
There's a guy on TikTok. He's a big Alabama guy, big Southern giant. Could have played O-line in Alabama. He's a big dude. But he said, he goes, listen, I thought he was going to clown people. I thought he was going to James Franklin showed so much class with what he did on game day on Saturday that he actually turned an Alabama fan into a James Franklin fan. So, Jim, I honestly believe that you at Florida could do a lot worse than if James Franklin moved down to Gainesville.
You have to figure, though, we talked about it last week when he got fired, that he has done a very, very poor job of developing quarterbacks. But then again, when you've got DJ Lagway, the turnover machine, how much worse could you really get right now? Lagway's
Lagway will
probably not
probably
gonna be
leave.
there after this year.
No, he will leave. Before we get to halftime, quick updates here. In the bottom of the fifth with 2 outs, it is 5-0 Toronto, looking to force game 7 in the ALCS. They scored their 5th run when Vladdy Guerrero hit one out of sight. And with 17 seconds left in the first half, Atlanta is going in. Well, they were going in to score, and then Michael Penix intentionally grounded a pass on second down. Looks like it'll be 10-3 or 10-6 at the half there.
10-3, according to my ESPN feed, it is 10-3 San Francisco at the half over Atlanta.
Okay. But what do you say we get to halftime now, as I'm being paged to feed the animals?
And then also have to turn off the light behind you.
Yes. It
And
looks funny with the light on.
And we will see you guys in 5 minutes. We will do a relatively shorter blast. We will hit the hat trick, and then we will get out of here for the night. Because I now actually, since I'm on vacation, I have 2 or 3 hours of video games ahead of my ass tonight.
Have fun. See you in a few.
Don't worry, I was muted too.
You changed hats.
Yeah, decided like I could break in the Blues hat tomorrow when I'm going to get my car. So
Nice.
since it was also like
Nice.
brand new and just arrived today and everything. Plus, also I'm
Okay.
like still breaking in the like how I showed you the other one. It's like these are the ones that I bought, online with the inserts. So these are not nearly as flexible. So they may take a little bit more to break the hat in. So
Understood. We also Wednesday night, dude.
yeah, and I mean, is it too early to say that opening in Wednesday night we could actually be looking at an Eastern Conference Finals preview on opening night?
They're playing the Knicks?
Yep.
No, I don't think it's too early to say that.
So the NBA will open the regular season on Tuesday night with a doubleheader. The now Kevin Durant led Houston Rockets will open up in Oklahoma City against the defending champion Thunder. That will be at 7:30 p.m. on NBC and Peacock, and then switching to Tuesday will be Golden State against the Lakers in the Geriatric Bowl.
Wait, they're raising the banner with Durant in the building? No. Level them up. Unreal. That's beautiful.
And then while we're talking about like disgruntledness, it was also shown this week that Russell Westbrook signed a 1-year contract with the Sacramento Kings to play his 18th and possibly final season earlier this week.
To take a line from the ever popular movie of our hearts, Major League. Who gives a shit? He's done. Hit Uke. Hit Uke. Exactly.
Other quick NBA news. This is not part of the blast. Uh, Speaking of the Kings, Dovitas Sabonis will be out for at least a week with a minor hamstring injury. The Warriors are waiving Seth Curry, but do expect his return. And then son of Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen, his Scottie Pippen Jr. is actually having a toe procedure, and he's going to be sidelined at least 12 weeks for the Memphis
Oof,
Grizzlies.
that's rough. That's absolutely rough. But
Kevin Durant gets and Kevin Durant gets a 2-year, $90 million extension from the Houston Rockets. And
who cares?
again, was it really needed? The fact that they finished second in the Western Conference without him, and nobody's catching Oklahoma City this year in the West that we talked about at length 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, it's not needed. I think it's more a troll job, to be honest with you. Like, oh look, we signed Kevin Durant. We wouldn't re-sign James Harden. But again, who cares? I don't with that dude. I don't give a shit.
Ooh, this is a fun story that actually just was printed about an hour before we went on the air. Um, the Who are the oldest teams never to have won a title in the Big Four?
Oldest as in
Been around
how
the
long have
longest. I take that back. Let me rephrase that. Oldest franchises never to have competed either in the championship final game or series.
the
So
Seattle
this means
Mariners.
World Series, Super Bowl, NBA Finals, and Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay, so are you taking initial run into existence? Because if that's the case, the Cleveland Browns, or are they just talking about
They're
since
talking all together. They even say on a side note, the Browns and Lions are left off this list because both won titles in the pre-Super Bowl area.
Okay, so then we have the shit. Never played in
Never played in.
Seattle, the Mariners.
Correct.
Have to come back to football. In hockey,
Now, in hockey, they've got a caveat here. So they've got what it currently is, but there's an asterisk next to it.
it's the Winnipeg Jets.
It is the Winnipeg Jets. The caveat is that the Arizona Coyotes are the oldest team. If you go back to the original Winnipeg Jets that were founded in '79, but they don't list that because remember when the Coyotes moved to Utah, Utah was given the Browns deal as they are now an expansion team. And since Arizona does not have a team, the lineage of the franchise is dead.
Okay. So I got two.
I'll give you a hint. The NBA one's been around for a while. The NFL one is not as old as you think.
Jacksonville in the NFL.
Jacksonville. Jacksonville was 95. Remember, Houston did not come into the league until '02.
Yep. And the old Houston franchise went to the Super Bowl with as the Tennessee Titans.
Correct.
All right. So I'm down to the NBA, huh? Memphis.
Because Memphis was founded in the late in the late 1990s. This I'll give you a hint. This team goes back to 1970. I'll also give you another hint. Where they're playing now, they've moved twice before.
Fuck.
Technically twice.
The Clippers.
Correct.
So
Now-
the Clippers, the Mariners, the Jags, and the Jets.
And now the teams who have never competed in a championship league or round in those sports. The Mariners are the only one in baseball that have never gotten to a final.
And they're one win away from doing it now. It's the close, and that's the closest they've ever been because no one remembers this. They lost in '95, which is, by the way, that was 30 years ago this past week. That was in Game 6. Cleveland went to Seattle with a 3-2 lead. They lost in 6 to the Yankees in '01. And those are the only 2 times they've ever been in the LCS.
Right.
So they are one win away from the World Series. And now, of course, you run into the problem that you didn't end up with the number 1 overall seed. So you got to play Game 6 and 7 at Rogers Center.
So we've got baseball. I'll give you a hint. The NFL, we've already talked about them. There's only 2.
Jacksonville and Houston.
Correct. The NBA, there are 5.
The Clippers, Sacramento Kings,
Incorrect. You have to go back to the Rochester Royals.
Jesus Christ. All right.
And I'll give you a hint. The Clippers are the only old one on this list. Everybody else was from after you and I met in the expansion era.
Okay, so Memphis, Vancouver.
2.
Not OKC, obviously. Orlando has the Charlotte Hornets,
Correct. 3.
the New Orleans Pelicans,
4.
Pistons have, Cavs obviously, Milwaukee obviously, Pacers obviously. Eastern or Western Conference?
West.
Fuck. Come on. I should know this. Am I going to kick myself when you tell me?
Yes.
Minnesota?
Minnesota. The Minnesota Timber Puppies. The NHL, there are 5. You've already got 1. The
Yeah,
other
never played
4
anything
should be
final.
pretty obvious.
The Ducks?
No, the Ducks actually have a Stanley Cup.
That's right. I'm an
So we've
asshole.
got, of the 5, we've got the Winnipeg Jets.
The
who
Seattle
they're,
Kraken.
they're going back to the Atlanta Thrashers in 99.
Yep. So the Kraken.
2.
Remember the NHL is not my forte. Winnipeg, Seattle. Damn it. So there's 5.
Yeah. And they're all new.
The Jackets.
3. Jackets actually have never been out of the second round.
See, the thing is, I'm not familiar with some of the expansion teams after, because I remember Tampa and Florida and Carolina coming in.
This team came in
Mammoth.
with
The
Carolina.
Mammoth.
I'm sorry, Mammoth is 4, and the 5th one came into the league the same time as Columbus.
I mean, Phoenix, but
Yeah, but again, keep in mind that franchise is now officially deactivated. We're talking active franchises now.
Okay, came in with Columbus. What year was that?
1999. Technically 2000.
Yeah. I don't know.
The Minnesota Wild.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
Wild, at least on this list, the Kraken have made a West Final. The Jets have made a West Final. The Jackets have never been out of the second round. The Utah Mammoth have not qualified for the playoffs as only a second-year expansion. And the Minnesota Wild have qualified for 2 Western Conference Finals.
That's crazy. Can't believe I didn't know some of that. And the Mariners are the only team that's never played in the World Series in baseball, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I was running that back through my head. I'm like, every team in the NL East has a championship. Every team in the AL East has a championship. Central, it's the Cardinals. Cardinals and Cubs only do they have it in the NL, but I know the
Pirates and Reds too.
Oh, that's right. What in our lifetime? Well, the We
Yeah.
Are Family Pirates were our lifetime. Yeah, the American League Central. Cleveland's been there 3 times since we've been friends, for God's sake. Detroit's got championships. Yeah, that's
Minnesota's got 2. Kansas City 1 in 06. And Chicago went to a final a few years ago.
The White Sox, no, the White Sox, 2005. They broke that. That was the Bobby Jenks. You want to talk about starting pitching in the freaking playoffs? Good God!
I mean, you figure every team in the AL West outside of the Mariners has a championship.
Yep, same thing in the NL West.
Yep,
outside of San Diego. Yeah, Giants, Dodgers, and Diamondbacks all have titles.
Yeah, Rockies and Padres have been there but never won it.
Yeah.
And then in the East, Marlins, Mets, Braves. Yeah, all 5 teams have got titles in the East.
Yep. Same thing in the AL. Baltimore, Toronto, New York, Boston, and Tampa.
I mean, Tampa doesn't have one, but they've been there.
And they've been there twice.
Yep.
So, but James, let's get to the actual blast for this evening.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
So tonight, let's start at the beginning. The Dodgers swept the NLCS. I think that was the things that get touched by water or wet Pope is Catholic skies blue type thing. I don't think anybody had win in that series. I will say this though. What a performance by Shohei Ohtani in Game 4. First ever player to strike out 10 and hit 3 bombs, and the one is going to hit Georgia any minute. Did you see it? Jesus Christ. However, make a comment on social media today that I'm quite proud of. Someone brought up the fact that there was some thing about the teams, and someone was advocating for the salary floor like I am. And they brought up, oh, look, of all the highest paid players, not a Dodger in sight. And my response was very simple. Well, that's because your GM went to the Bobby Bonilla School of Contract Negotiations, and you guys will have $150 million guaranteed to players who are done with the game for, I don't know, 10, 12 years.
Well, ESPN had this really good story that I read a couple of days ago that they actually said whoever wins the National League championship series is going to decide whether or not we've got a season in 2026. Because if you got a $500 million payroll Dodgers team that wins a back-to-back title, as opposed to a Milwaukee Brewers team that's in the bottom 5 of payroll in baseball, and then you look over in the AL. So if the Dodgers win this thing with that massive payroll, there's the argument right there of gaining more traction for for salary caps and or floors going in.
Agreed. Agreed. Did you see what Dave Roberts said after they won? He said, and I quote, "They say we ruined baseball. Well, let's win 4 more and ruin it more."
It's you're not likable anymore. When you won a couple of years ago when you won a few years ago with Freddie, when you beat the Astros, great. When you won last year, because Shohei got his first. Now it's just basically laughable.
This year, there's no one to root for on that team to get their title. Last year, you rooted for the Dodgers because everybody hates the fucking Yankees. This year, not for nothing, this team right now, and you can say what the Mets all you want with the payroll and everything else. The core of the Mets ball club still has 3 players that are homegrown in it. Dodgers don't have that anymore. The Dodgers, who could plug and play guys from their system, they don't have that anymore. They don't. And I don't consider international free agents that only played for that team to be homegrown. It's not how that works. But I will say this. This Dodger team is less likable because of they boast a top 10 payroll because of the deferred money. If it was any other team besides the Dodgers that did this, Yankees, Mets, anybody who spends a lot of money and deferred a lot of contracts, they would take a hell of a lot more heat than they are. Not saying that they don't have players that are doing well and are playing at a high level. I am saying they're hated because it's bullshit what they did with the contracts. There was another report out today that they made back the entire Ohtani contract last year because of season ticket sales and international sales and whatnot for merch. That's wonderful. Phenomenal. Your $700 million player is only making $2 million a year.
And that's, I think, going to be one of the other sticking points that they're going to come into is like trying to start. I think within 5 years, regardless of whether it's part of the CBA or not, you're going to see a major push to stop deferring these contracts.
At least to the level the Dodgers did with Ohtani. 68 of 70 million. No, that's insanity.
You're not going to see any kind of Bobby Bonilla, Ohtani type thing. If you're going to backlog these contracts, put a 5-year cap on it.
Agreed. Now, as far as the deferrals go, I never had a problem with the deferrals. My whole thing
because you got to cheer for Bobby Bo getting his deferred money every year for the last 40 years.
I didn't cheer for it.
Or at least you got to make a joke out of it.
I never made a joke out of it. I revel in that because it got us David Wright. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. My problem has always been this narrative that Bobby Bonilla is the only player to ever get deferred money. That's been my problem. Ken Griffey Jr. just came off of Cincinnati's payroll last year. Bruce Sutter got a big check the day before he died from the Atlanta Braves. Anybody remember he even played for the Braves?
And this is where I think the issue with baseball is just so broken anymore. And this is why you're going to need some sort of salary structure for the game to be feasible in the next 5 years. Because if this is going to be a sticking point, and let's say that they lock out for a good portion, let's say that they lock out until after May 1st for next year. Let's even say June 1st. That's about as much as the game has grown in the last few years. That could break the game worse than the 94 season being canceled altogether.
Well, let's do a couple things. First of all, the CBA doesn't actually end until the day after the World Series 2026. In 94, they went on strike in August. because the players walked out. The owners cannot lock them out until after the CBA has come to an end, which is after the World Series of 2026. So we're looking at 27 being affected here, not 26. 26 is going to go on as is. Still sucks. But I honestly believe, Jim, and again, we'll get into this more as we get into the baseball offseason and talk about this. I honestly think the floor is going to be the way they end up going because of things like you see in the charts where teams like Pittsburgh and not for nothing, Cleveland and some of these other small market teams that turn a profit every year because of the league profit sharing, because of the TV contracts, and because of merchandise that don't reinvest in the payroll. And that's where you're going to see that.
Would you have an? I just literally thought of this as you were saying
I
that.
saw that.
Would you have a problem with a hard floor, but using part of the revenue sharing to establish a soft cap on top of it?
No, I wouldn't. But what you run into the problem with is that there are so many teams, your upper echelon teams with payroll. The amount of cuts that these teams would have to do and the deals that would have to be made, that would actually break the game.
As if it's not broken already.
I don't think it's broken.
Let's be honest. From a payroll structure, the game is broken.
You're absolutely right. But how many of the top 5 payrolls made it to the playoffs?
Because again, they bought their way basically there.
They did. But again, some of the payroll thing, though, and I'm going to say this. Yes, the highest paid player in the Mets is Juan Soto, and then it's Lindor. I get that. Highest paid player in the Yankees is a guy who came through their system. The biggest question facing the New York Mets this year is whether you bring back Pete Alonso again from their system. Baseball has started turning into the big market teams are paying guys not only that they bring in, Lindor, Soto, with the Dodgers, Ohtani, Betts, but they're starting to pay some of the guys that came through their system as well. Look at the contract that the Guards gave to Jose Ramirez. Look at the gave to Brandon Nimmo and are going to give to Pete Alonso. Look at the contracts that the one Devers signed in Boston before that fell apart. These big market teams are starting to pay their own stars. That's really where it's got to come from. Jim, we haven't seen the biggest free agent frenzy yet. We got 4 more years of Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh.
I mean,
that's going to be insanity.
Before I leave the payroll thing, kind of dead and buried here until after the season, and I promise I will try to. The top 10 payrolls, if we're starting from the bottom, Atlanta, abysmal season. Texas was number 9. They missed the playoffs by 1 game. Houston, number 8, missed the playoffs by 1 game. Boston was in at 7. San Diego was in at 6. Toronto was in at 5. Philly was in at 4. The Yankees were in at 3. The Mets missed by 1 game and at 2. And the Dodgers are number 1 and with a bullet and looking to go back to back. So if you look at all of that there outside of Atlanta, everybody else was essentially a playoff team. Yeah. And the ones that didn't were within 2 games.
Agreed. Now, Houston is that way because they paid their own dues. And they added Carlos Correa. That contract, they ate that whole contract. Philly paid a lot of their own players. Remember, Bryce Harper, the biggest contract is, Zach Wheeler's the biggest contract in that team. But they paid Nola. They paid Alec Bohm, got an extension. There's a case to be made that a lot of these teams are paying their guys, and that needs to happen more. Real quick on the Mariners on the cusp, it is 5-2 Toronto, bottom 7. Dalton Varsho is up with 2 men on and 1 down. So we'll see what happens there. Apparently Vladdy's ball hasn't landed yet either. It's going to clear customs any minute and land into St. Lawrence.
And there'll be a 400% tariff on it.
Basically. Jim, more intriguing World Series to you? Dodgers Seattle, Dodgers Toronto.
Dodgers Toronto, just because of the too high payrolls, and then the fact that you could have, with everything that's gone on, a Canadian team possibly winning America's Pastimes Championship in the wake of where we stand economically and politically in 2025, and just how much of a cluster F it would be for an all West Coast World Series for games to start at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, their time, for us.
Basically. Now, I am going to say this, and I hope it's not a harbinger of things. As I said on the playoff preview, I knew the Saturday before the season ended that the Mets were going to lose on Sunday and be out of the playoffs because of what happened on Saturday. James, the last time the Toronto Blue Jays won the World Series, can you tell me what happened the very next year?
Trying to remember who was there in 92.
They won in 92 and 93, back-to-back championships. They beat Atlanta.
90, 91. I always get my years mixed up.
They won the East those 2 years, but they did not win the World Series. No, they won in 92, beating the Atlanta Braves in 6 games.
And then 93 was off of Mitch Williams. Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger one in your life. And then we had the cancellation in 94.
Do you really want Toronto to win?
Yeah.
You're a dick.
Anybody other than the Dodgers at this point.
I understand that. Understood. Jim, let's get to Myers leaving ESPN because that is a huge thing. 6-2, by the way.
So according to ESPN reports that came out back on the 16th, which was Wednesday, according to Adam Schefter, former Golden State Warrior general manager Bob Myers, and this is so weird to see Shefty writing something about basketball. He's leaving his role as an ESPN basketball analyst to become president of sports operations for Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. And Harris Blitzer has a portfolio right now that boasts the 76ers of the NBA, the New Jersey Devils of the NHL, Crystal Palace FC of the English Premier League, and a significant investment in Joe Gibbs Racing in NASCAR. Myers will also support Josh Harris as the managing partner of the Washington Commanders.
Didn't he help with their coaching search?
Yes, he did. He's also, I believe he was part of, I think he also had a hand in, I don't want to say the negotiations, but he also, I think, had a hand in the workings of getting the Commanders back downtown in the district when they signed that to be able to move out of FedEx Field and finally get a stadium in DC.
Yeah.
Now, granted, a ton of that was Josh Norman.
Yes.
Josh Harris, I'm sorry.
I knew who you meant. Here's the deal with that too. This is the guy who built the Golden State Warriors. This is the guy who helped, put the Commanders. I am sorry, I'm having a bad eye night. Helped put the Commanders back on solid footing after the Dan Snyder fiasco. It's because you're wearing the Cavs hat. He's a good hire. So let's see what he can do dabbling in all these sports.
And keep in mind, Bob Myers is only 47.
Yeah, he's a year old. Well, he's your age. He looks older than that, though. You don't look 47. He does. Best new mascot, dude. That was
Have
phenomenal.
you seen it?
I have seen it. That's amazing.
So, welcome to the NHL. When they had their home opener on Wednesday night, this is Tusky.
It's like a badass.
That is badass.
And he came out of the ice That was phenomenal.
Which there's part of me that actually is like thinking, if he leaves the Buffalo Sabres this year, Alex Tuck, who I was hoping was going to be the captain because he's a native of Buffalo, if he goes there, could we have Tusky and Tucky? Because that's what all of his teammates everywhere he's been typically call Alex Tuck is Tucky. But Tusky is badass, and he is basically gaining universal acclaim. And there's already been like tier lists coming out of mascots in the NHL, and they're already putting him in A tier because for whatever reason, everyone's still putting Gritty in S tier. When I think Gritty is one of the worst mascots in sports, don't get me wrong.
Gritty's creepy.
Gritty is incredibly creepy. Tusky is awesome.
Gritty tries to be the Philly Fanatic, but in a different color, and he's terrible. I'm not a fan of the Fanatic because of where he's from. But Gritty's ew.
Apparently, though, the Nashville Predators took a little bit of umbrage with this because their mascot, Nash, is a saber-toothed tiger with longer fangs and a lighter blue kind of complexion with his fur.
Get the fuck over it. No one cares, Nashville.
I mean, I like Nash. I'm a big fan of it, and it's going to be funny when actually you get the mammoth and then the Sabres together because the Sabres are their mascot is Sabretooth. So you got two prehistorics going right at each other.
All you need is Carson Beck to show up and Sid the Sloth, and you got the Ice Age movies.
It was pretty funny is because they had the Panthers and the Sabres and don't look now, the Sabres actually for, scoring one goal in their first 3 games have now won back-to-back, including shutting out the defending champion Panthers 3-0 yesterday. But it was a pretty funny segment. It's because you had the Panthers mascot walking backstage in the arena in Buffalo and running into Sabretooth, and they start play fighting, and all of a sudden you see the guy with the camera phone tossing 2 balls of yarn, and they're just rolling around on the floor playing with the yarn to be able to break up the fight. So mascot stuff is really, really funny anymore.
2 things. Going back to the Dave Roberts thing, what he said, someone put on that same thread, God, I can't wait for Paul Maurice to say the same thing this coming spring when they make the finals again. And the second thing, did you see what happened in San Jose?
I heard something. I think I saw a graphic about this, but I didn't actually see the act where they choked a game away late or something.
No. This was with the mascot.
Oh, no, I didn't see what happened with Sharky.
A guy drop kicked a soccer ball off Sharky's face, and Sharky goes down. Like it almost spun the head around, like Linda Blair style.
NHL mascots are just built differently. It's, some baseball mascots are pretty good. It's basketball mascots, can be entertaining. Boomer, Sir Cece, the Phoenix Gorilla, but I think the NHL mascots are just built different. They're just more entertaining to me.
Top 5 mascots. Go.
I have to think about this for a minute.
I can give you mine.
Mr. Met, Mr. Met, Mr. Met, Mr. Met, Mr. Met.
No, Mrs. Met's in there too. No, Mr. Met will always be number 1. Mr. Met will always be number 1 for me. I have one sitting on my desk. I mean, come on.
I'm going to go in no particular order. Bluey from the Indianapolis Colts.
He's on my list.
Especially with the way that he pie faces everybody.
That's why he's on my list.
I'm going to placate to the crowd a little bit. Sparky the Dragon for the New York Islanders.
Okay.
Because of also the fact that he was affiliated with the Mets for a little bit, and he also was part of the New York Dragons. He doubled as the mascot for the New York Dragons indoor arena football team for several years.
Mm-hmm.
I got to put in oh, his name is eluding me right now.
What team?
Harvey the Hound with the Calgary Flames.
Okay.
I got to throw Tusky. I want to put Tusky in this, but the fact that he's only 4 days old, I can't just yet. Sentimentally, I got to put Bailey of the Los Angeles Kings because he was named after Ace Bailey, who was tragically killed aboard one of the planes on 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more I can picture him, and I can't think of who it is right now. It's not
Think about it.
Chomps. I'm going to go booster with the Houston Rockets.
Okay. Mr. Matt. Brutus. This is where you're going to be. I prefer Moondog to Sir Cece.
See, I was only taking pro, not college. So that would have changed things a little bit for me.
Well, okay, take Brutus out then. Mr. Met, Moondog, Slider. What?
He's purple and he fell off the friggin' wall.
That was 30 years ago.
Insubordinate and churlish.
It's both of those things too. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Blooper. The Braves mascot. He's a bit of a dick, but he's funny. And number 5, just because he's one of the best ever. The Chicken.
You know who we're also forgetting? Who's really, really good and easily could have made this list? Rocky with the Denver Nuggets.
Yes. Benny the Bull.
Rocky is really, really good.
Benny the Bull is amazing.
Benny the Bull's good, but Rocky is really, since the progression of the Nuggets in recent years, with even just before Joker arrived, Rocky's kind of on a different plane right now in the NBA.
I mean, some honorable mentions if we throw them out there. Bernie Brewer is there. How about the the ultimate troll job was the one from the Rockies this year, asking for Mrs. Met's number. That was hilarious.
Thunderbug with the Tampa Bay Lightning is up there.
He's great. Yes, Sir Cece, if you go there, is also amazing.
Billy the Marlin, Fred
Billy
Bird,
Mm-hmm.
the Moose in Seattle.
Didn't he get hurt too?
I think so.
Season? And they came out, both of them, with the braces on their legs. And we could do mascots for forever.
Yeah. Orbit's a good one. Very underrated, Wally the Green Monster.
Yes. My second favorite ESPN commercial of all time.
Yep.
Wally, it's not what you think. What's your number one ESPN commercial of all time? It's not Ovechkin, is it?
No. It's Charlie, come out here and get your butt whooping. No. It was Olbermann and Alexi Lawless. where he breaks the guitar and hands it to him. Because I
Like
know the backstory from Olbermann's podcast.
My favorite to this day is Peyton and Eli Manning on the family tour of ESPN. But James, as much as that's been fun and everything, and we got the mascots thing done, there's only one thing left to do, sir.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator. It is our favorite segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is that time when James and I give each other names in or out of the sports world, and the first thing that pops in our heads is what we tell you. Now, it has become an iconic portion of the show, as not only have we had some of the greatest off-the-rail moments because of the translator, but we also now have the Chronicle, which we are very quickly getting to the 100th Chronicle soon. And I have a feeling tonight is going to make me want to slap my co-host upside the head. James, if you would. You're a fucking asshole. No, I don't. I don't. And I'll be honest with you. I don't care as much as I used to. Although I started using it as a threat. So Bobby, for whatever reason, doesn't like his hair dried. And my kid's got some pretty thick lettuce there. So tonight he's actually yelling at me as I'm drying his hair. Just with a towel, like that. And he says to me, and I quote, "I don't want you to do this anymore." I said, "Okay, we'll cut your hair like mine." Yeah.
That went over well, I bet.
He stopped complaining.
Hopefully, Mrs. Reekin's little project went a little bit better with because I think she might have talked to you about it as well. Did she not?
The
Gemini project?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, first draft came out very good. It's just some small tweaks that have got to be done.
She, by the way, has made a suggestion for me for tweaking your logo ever so slightly. So that'll be on my agenda for tomorrow while I'm waiting on my car.
Oh, very nice. So, James, your first name in tonight's YZ Translator is the second hottest player in this postseason in Major League Baseball, and that is Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Back goes the right fielder. He'll need a rocket up his ass to catch this one.
He's hitting bombs, dude.
If that's not Anthony Davis on top of LeBron James in left, that baby's out of here. It's
with the fence in Toronto.
I mean, we still say that the ball that Pujols hit off of Brad Lidge hasn't landed yet. This one, I think, I mean, if they actually had any kind of ball trackers in there, we could explore Mars a little bit easier. It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper to fund.
Yeah, just have Brad Lidge hang Pujols another slider.
That hurt me because you remember how big of an Astro fan I was back then.
Hence why I said it.
Michael, your first name in the YZ Translator tonight, we had a little bit of fun with him, but I honestly want to see what you have to say about him now, as we kind of mentioned him tongue-in-cheek during the NFL section. And your name tonight is the now benched Justin Fields.
I feel bad for him. I do. He has been He has played for two absolute trash franchises in the Jets and the Bears. No offense, Alex. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers did him dirty. He was playing well, they were winning, and they benched him for Russ. I think if Fields would have been the starter in Pittsburgh all year last year, they would have probably still made the playoffs and not gone anywhere. But he would have stayed in Pittsburgh, and he would have had the opportunity to build a career because of him moving on to the Jets, because Pittsburgh let him go after benching him for Russ. I think Justin Fields' career may be over. And it's sad, Jim. It is. He was so good in college, and he didn't play bad for the Bears. He had zero help. So, it's unfortunate. It's extremely unfortunate.
But I mean, it's not all that uncommon of a task. Is look at all the guys who were great in college and have just Zach Wilson up until recently, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, great college quarterbacks and can't do a damn thing in the pros, regardless of you. When you've got even guys who, remember, Josh Allen was crap his first 2 years, and then they finally started to develop, and he turned into the best quarterback in football. Patrick Mahomes was not like this out of the chute. Justin Fields, eventually, after a while, Fields has got to start developing a little bit more, and I understand that there's not a whole lot there with the Jets, and it's also Tomlin he likes to lean on vets a lot more, because when he had the opportunity of, naturally he had the injury year with Ben where he's got to rely on Mason Rudolph, and then, go with other, journeymen at that point, and then he gets Ben back the next year. But I mean, that's Tomlin's MO, is that he likes to stay with his veterans, which is why you're not going to see Will Howard really until it's mop up time, and then be able to try and see if they could squeeze one more year out of old man Rodgers for next year. And then who's to say that Will Howard is another guy who has a great college career and then doesn't actually get any kind of playing time because he's sitting for so long.
It's very true. However, I will say this. The thing that's always ignored when a quarterback does not have a good start to their career is what they were drafted into. Patrick Mahomes won an MVP his first year as a starter because he had Andy Reid. Sam Darnold had the New York Jets. Baker had the Cleveland Browns. And Baker, Josh Allen was given the time to develop. The problem is a lot of these guys aren't given the time to develop, and they're not given any kind of support either, because unfortunately they're playing for franchises that don't know how to get their head out of their ass. And they have coaches and GMs coaching and playing and putting rosters together for their jobs as opposed to building.
Can we also
quarterback who came into the league and was shit? Look at what they were at. Look at where they were at. Darnold, when he got competent coaching and pieces, went off.
Can we also think about the irony of the two teams that were on buys this week? And that would be the Buffalo Bills, who have lost back-to-back games, and the Baltimore Ravens, who are going into their bye at 1-5. And if it weren't for the Jets, dead last in the AFC.
And they only beat the Browns.
For two teams that we thought could have been part of the pool of three teams that you pick any two of the three, and they would have been in the AFC Championship game in a couple of months here.
Injuries are a bitch. Injuries are a bitch. All right. Who am I giving you now for the second one? Who is James getting for the second one? Oh, I know. James, your second name in tonight's Wisey Translator comes from the world of the NBA. And it is I am trying to stick around and make as much money as possible because I probably have 14 illegitimate children. Russell Westbrook.
I'll tell you what, him and De'Aaron Fox could have been a little interesting, but there's also part of me that's kind of glad that Fox got moved with this because I wouldn't want any of the stink of Russell Westbrook stunning the growth of De'Aaron Fox at that point in Sacramento. But you look at where the Kings are this year. We talked about it earlier that Sabonis is going to be out at least a week starting the season. Yeah, it's the fact that also Sacramento goes out and signs Keegan Murray to a 5-year, $140 million rookie max. Um, I think it's good for them to be able to bring in Westbrook as veteran leadership with their franchise. Um, I can't imagine how much of an impact he's really going to have. Look at his last 2 years with the Clippers. At that particular point, when you look at their roster right now, you've got DeMar DeRozan, who's 36. Zach LaVine just hit 30. Drew Eubanks is 28. Malik Monk, 27. Having coming off of his playoff improvement a couple of years ago. Sabonis is going to turn 30 this season. Westbrook is 36. Dario Saric, 31. Dennis Schroeder, 32. For some good young talent as they have, this is also a pretty old team with some of their bigger names, now hitting that 30 threshold.
Yeah, I was going to say it's as young as we think they are. They're not. 'Cause I forgot DeRozan was there. To be honest
The
with you.
the only saving grace is that the fact of Westbrook's only taken 2.3 million over these 2 year over this year with this contract.
Isn't he still getting? He's still getting paid by somebody, which is why he did it that way, isn't he?
Yeah. He's actually making the same amount of money as 33-year-old Dougie Buckets, Doug McDermott, who's 33,
Dougie.
who's who's still kind of hanging around the league at this particular point. So when you look at
Buckets.
their contract situation, yeah, DeRozan's 36. He's making 24 this year. Monk's going to make 18. Sabonis is going to make 43. Schroeder's making 14, and then as we just talked about a moment ago, the the 5-year, $140 million extension for Keegan Murray, which isn't going to kick in until I want to say after next year.
Oh, is it that long term from starting? That's okay. I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I'm looking up the details of his contract right now. Keegan Murray. Okay, it's a 5-year, $30 million rookie contract extension for a max contract. So the contract that he's on right now, he signed for 25-26, he exercised an 11.14 million option, fourth year option. It's actually a club option on his rookie deal, and he'll be at and it's still very favorable for the Kings for right now. So next year when the contract kicks in, he's only going to be 26, and it's a 24 million cap hit, 26 in 27, 28, and then it only expands out to 31 when he turns 30 at in 2030, 2031, and then he's a UFA after that. So it's a good rookie deal for him for being the number 4 overall pick in the 2022 draft. He's certainly not a guy who's going to actually have that type of build around him in the franchise like Sacramento's tried to do in the last 15 years with a Tyreek Evans, with what they tried to do with De'Aaron Fox. But it's definitely something that's favorable for them. So this way they still have a high priced talent that once, DeRozan, comes off the books, once some of these other vets that I talked about a minute ago, when they come off the books in the next year or two, they'll actually still have a guy making that level of money, but still have some flexibility to go out and bring some guys in to build the Kings back up. Because let's also be honest, when the Kings were in the playoffs a few years ago and they took the Warriors to 7 in that wonderful opening round series, that was just entertaining basketball.
It really was. I mean, you figure before that, Sacramento's really only big time was when they were playing the Lakers in the early 2000s every year in the Western Conference playoffs. The Vlade Divac, Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Sacramento Kings.
And that was because of the fact that Sacramento got to that point because they brought the black and purple back 2 years ago with that, and now we're going to be able to run with that again. So they had that before. So when you dump the black and you only go with the graphite and the purple, you don't win as well. Now you bring the purple, now you bring the black back into the fold, and yeah, it's cool again. People want to go watch the Kings.
Yeah, not me, but you know.
Michael,
Jim, who you to wrap this thing up.
Michael, your final name, I'm going to go way, way, way off the books and not even in the sports world tonight. And I want to talk about the biggest thing that anybody saw in the United States over the weekend that had absolutely nothing to do with sports. And I'd like your honest take on it. And that would be the No Kings protests.
Well, there are three things I think about that. Number one, yes, I don't look at all that much, but Big Rican is not just a clever name. It is who I am. The fact that so many people have taken to the streets to protest the things that are being done on that end. I saw. Or what is 50 times more than anybody who showed up to either the inaugurations or his little parade. So I think that's great. Having family members who went to some of them makes me proud as well. The second thing is that is how you peacefully speak out against things that are happening that you disagree with. You don't hurt people. And third, I don't know if you saw this, but there were more than 20 people from the other side of the aisle that were arrested at these things trying to incite violence. You are some dumb motherfuckers.
And I'll let Mike finish his thought in a moment, but we have not done this yet tonight. And that brings me to the JC Blue Note number of the week. And Michael, that number is 0. And do you happen to know what that number is?
The number of arrests attached to these demonstrations.
Not dealing with protesters themselves. That is the number of the more than 7 million people that were reported to have taken part in this in 2,200 rallies like this across the country, not including ones that were reported in several major cities in Canada and also several different districts in London. And I'm not talking London, Ontario. I'm talking London, England. That is the total number of reported arrests by protesters. And you are correct. It is 20 and probably counting for the number of protests on the other side, from anything from antagonization to instigation to even reports of 3 people brandishing and waving firearms.
Yep.
Did you happen to see the video of the guy walking down the street, praising the other side, had his glasses ripped off, and then fell down in the middle of the street and tried to assault people?
No.
I will send it to you. It is hilarious. And because as he's getting up, somebody literally rips his glasses off his face and takes off down the street running. He falls in the middle of the street. His pants are halfway down around his ass. He's getting up. His face is all bloodied from hitting the pavement. And he's trying to go after this person. And this guy is gone. So he actually starts turning his attention to guys trying to hold him back and saying, hey, you can get a new pair of sunglasses. If you keep this up, you're going to get hurt. You might as well just leave. And they're trying to reason with him. And he is just trying to be more and more inflammatory and infectious.
I can't even do it, Jim. I can't. It's the stupid is so fucking strong. It's not even funny, man. But let's talk about happier topics, shall we? As the wise guys have reached a milestone. Yes, that's right. These two chuckleheads that you tune into, on Sunday nights or Wednesdays, I think, when we started this whole thing, or whatever days of the week we have done this.
I was gonna say we used to tape on Wednesdays, and then we did Fridays, then we went to Saturdays, then we back to Fridays, then we would do a couple of Thursdays, then we did Friday, then we tried a Sunday, and then we went back to Saturday, and then now we've been on Sunday, and I don't think we're going anywhere from Sundays, but
No, I don't think we are either. But this coming Thursday is the actual date. We will not come to you Thursday night. But this Thursday is the actual date. It will be the 4-year anniversary of the Wise Guy Sports Show. Hard to believe that it's 4 years already. Jim and I were talking about before we came on the air tonight. It was 4 years ago, the end of September of 2021, that we had what we call the pilot episode, the high school reunion episode of the Big Recon Sports podcast. And then the Wise Guys first episode was What's in the Box. And that is what was in the box. So we will see you guys Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Let's just move to 8 o'clock. We'll say 8:15 because there seems to be when we say 8 o'clock, it's 8:15. When we say 8:30, it's usually 8:35.
it's typically me like trying to do chyrons last minute. Like we go up late tonight because I forgot to put the college basketball chyron together. I hadn't updated the wire for the 4 o'clock games, but that will change next week. Trust me, I will have most of this pretty much written in advance while I'm on vacation this week.
Enjoy your vacation, and we will see you guys next Sunday night for our 4-year anniversary show. Guest list to be determined.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys next week.